Hey, welcome to Late Night with Larry. I'm here with my co-host Vince. Vince, give me a shout out.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Glad to be here, and we're glad you're here with us.
That's right. And tonight we got a special guest on with us, and he's going to tell us some of his stories. And I read some of his stories on Facebook, and I was intrigued. I was like, these are some damn good stories. So I just wanted him to bring him on the show, and I want him to tell us either the story that I read on Facebook or if he has another one. But we're going to bring him on in a bit. But as we usually do before the show, we give our shout out.
We try to anyway.
Yeah.
Somebody's having technical difficulties. See, where there's a will, there's a way. He's like a chipmunk getting in that nut.
That's right. Well, damn, this tight. Okay, here we go. Well, we're going to do this toast to our special guest, Cory. Here we go. Good stuff.
All right.
Right.
You want to give him the email right away before we forget?
That's right. So before we get started, we want you to subscribe to us. And you can do that by hitting the subscribe button. And if you want to contact us, you can do it by emailing us at latenightwithlarry55@gmail.com.
Very good.
That's right. So we're going to get it started, and we want to introduce our special guest, Cory. Cory, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Cory. So like I was telling our audience, you had written a story that I read, and man, I thought it was really good. It caught my attention. And you had emailed me and said you'd be willing to come on the show and share a story, and I was psyched. I was like, that's cool. Let's do this.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So what do you want to share with us tonight? The floor is yours.
Well, one thing, I'm from Winter Rock area, but I live in the Phoenix metro area. I can finally talk about that story that I told you, and I think what I told you about was where my mom was on horseback, right?
Right. Yeah. No. The one I read was where she painted her face and you said it.
Oh. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, my mom grew up out there in the boonies, in the woods between St. Michael's, Arizona, and Ganado. In a place called Summit. Maybe have you guys heard that term used?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. So she lives up that way. They only live in a one room cabin, and they would always be left alone from time to time, particularly at night. And so this one particular night, it was just herself and then maybe a few of her brothers and sisters, and their ages range from to the baby. And to her oldest brother, which was, I think, 17 or 18. And it was a stormy night that particular night. Wind was blowing, very cliche. But her younger sister was beginning to cry. And her older brother was getting mad about that. So he told him, hey, let's, feed her. So she got up to go feed them. And as she was noticing, earlier in the day, they were playing baseball, and they happened to break the window. So the curtains were flying up and down, and as she was turning on the gas stove, turned to hurry up some milk, they turned around and she saw a face. One thing she noticed is that its face was painted in like a clay or mud, but it was white, and she couldn't tell whether it was a man or woman, but it had long, crazy-looking hair, very stringy, and she noticed that at least from the chest downward, it was naked. And there was, it was wearing jewelry, turquoise jewelry. And she screamed. And all the ones on the side of the cabin where they saw it too. They screamed. They ran into the corner of the cabin. And their brother, who happened to be on the bed that was underneath the window, didn't notice because he was facing them. And he, got startled by why they were screaming. And he turned around and looked, and here it did again, just standing there staring at them. And he just got shocked for a bit, jumped and just seen something there because he wasn't expecting it. So he jumped up, and at some time ago, one of our relatives got one of those U.S. caliber sabers, so just happened to be there. So he grabbed that, and he went to the fire stove there, and he put some ash on the sword and on himself. And he told the next oldest brother, to lock the door when he goes out, to open it until she comes back. So he goes out, and as he goes up, they close the door, and they're so scared they put chairs, dirty bags of clothes, in front of the door. So just a regular door. So they're just there sitting in their cabin and not knowing what's going on. So at some point, someone comes back and they think they hear their brother, but they're kind of scared whether it's actually him or if it's something else imitating him. But eventually, they figure, okay, well, we're scared more of our brothers and what's might be out there because he would beat them up. So they opened it and they let him in, and he didn't say anything that night, but he just told them to just go to sleep and he'll stay up for a bit. So they all sleep, and it wasn't until the next day, around noon, when he finally revealed something happened. He said that as he ran out, he was going toward where there was a window, and it was walking toward the door at that time. And I guess it wasn't expecting him to be out there, so it noticed he got jumped, shot.
Right.
So it ran and took off down, I think back the east. Yeah, it's heading back east. It was like west, and heading that way, it goes downhill. And my mom said that when they run, it sounds like a horse running, something very, very heavy. And she heard it run down that way, so he chased after it. And he just, because he was never afraid of them. My mom said he was never afraid of the Skinwalkers.
Right.
So he chased it, and eventually he managed to chase it into a fallen tree, where it had still, a lot of branches, and it crawled underneath there, and he ran toward it, trying to jab it with his sword. And at some point he lost sight of it, but then he noticed a mouse, and he just had this impression that wasn't a mouse because he couldn't see anything else in there, so he tried to stomp on it. But it was just, he said that his leg would feel heavy when they would purposely try to step on it.
Right.
He just, whatever he could, he couldn't put any harm to it. So eventually he lost track of it in the tree again, and he decided, okay, well, I'll just head back to the cabin, and that's where he stayed up that night. So that was, I know I kind of slimmed it down from what I read down because it's easier when you speak orally.
Right.
But that was that story. My mom, she was out there, so she had a lot of stories about stuff. And always at night, she said that they would have a routine before night comes. They would put on the protection medicine,
right,
and they would feed the dogs bees because she said that would make them more aggressive in protecting the house because they would be so scared.
right.
So they always started at the nighttime because they always knew somebody would come around, especially when their mother and stepdad wasn't there.
Let me ask you a question. Now, you say they would always come around. Why do you think that they picked your mom and her brothers and sisters particularly to come around? And I believe that it happens at night, because that's when they prowl. But why do you think that it's singled them out?
Well, I think because I'm sure you've heard said that there's always at least one in the family, whether it's extended or there's always someone who knows someone into the family.
Right.
And within this particular family, my grandma happened to be pretty rich in land. And it's their motivation to do things is to jealousy, greed. They want to take.
Right.
And my grandmother happened to be in possession of the land. So that's always in our family. It's always been about the land. They would try to get rid of her or scare us. Whenever we had interest in trying to go back up there and fix things up.
Right.
So that in that case, they would always, whether it be some relative that was jealous of my grandma, would want to come around and just scare the kids just because.
Right. And we did. We know a lot of people that are native, and that's one of the things that I was always told that if you're wealthy, the jealousy does play a part in them singling you out. And
right, it plays a big part.
Right. So
and even today,
right.
it's in any culture, jealousy is a big thing. If you're successful, other people want what you got.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I know we've talked about skinwalkers previously, and they're a big topic because of the TV show Skinwalker Ranch. But we grew up hearing all these stories since I was a young boy. So to me, this isn't just folklore. This is real stuff that happens out there. But you get people that may listen to this podcast and say, "Oh wow, that was a great story," but I don't think there's anything such as a shapeshifter, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, regardless of whether you believe in the supernatural aspect of it, the thought of someone naked wearing an animal pelt roaming around, that's so freaky as in itself.
Yeah,
you know?
You're right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, as they say in our part of the land, the Billy Ganas, that they really don't they don't really believe in this, and they think it's a bunch of hokey pokey. And but you get some that do live on the reservation, and they do start believing because they've experienced things.
Right. Now, Now, a lot of these people who don't believe, they didn't grow up in this area. With us, we grew up with it firsthand. Right. Most of our friends were native, so we've heard these stories since day one.
Right.
And a lot of the people who don't, they're these people who believe that if science can't explain it, it can't be real or true.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And I just thought that story you said was it caught my attention, because I was like, oh my God, yes, I know exactly what that thing was.
Yeah, and when you told me the story about when you said the part where he had like his face painted in clay, that reminded me of a story. I have a friend from where is he from? Maybe it's Saley, the Saley area. But they were doing some road work deep in the res, and sometimes they would sleep in their cars because they didn't have time to go home and come back. He woke up one morning and there was somebody outside painted white just staring at him. Just as you explained, it was like a white mud. He said, same thing, crazy hair. It just crazy that that just struck a bell right there, because I've heard that story before. Well, a similar one.
Right.
Yeah, there's always a core similarity between all these stories. It's something that's pretty common out there, which is, whenever I'm go on YouTube and find search of Skinwalkers, you can really tell who actually experienced it. He's just kind of just playing on the word itself to attract, viewers, and just make it something randomly spooky.
Right.
Yeah,
that's.
As you said that reminded me of one quick small story.
Okay.
You heard the 264, right? You know that one?
The who?
Between Gallup and...
Oh, 264?
264
It used to be 666.
Yeah, that used to be 666. No, that's 264? No, that's for...
264 is one that goes east to west.
Okay.
To the city too,
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
because you reminded me of you reminded me of one of my mom's cousins was driving back from Ganado, and he got sleepy, so he pulled over on the side of the road and was about to go to sleep.
Right.
And then he heard a tapping on the window, so he looked up and he saw like a human hand.
Right.
But it was muddy looking, but he could see it's like a coyote ears or dog ears, he said, and that's all he saw was his ears and the hand tapping. And he made like a coughing noise, and the hand shot down, but the ears, they got perked as if, my dog hears something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he was, secretly just trying to get his keys, and as soon as he got the keys, he jumped up and started the truck and just took off from there.
Wow. I don't.
It's not always, it's not always something very, it's like something small town like that happens too. It's not something very long or torturous, but it's, they just out there running around.
Yes.
You can pick on.
Right. That reminds me, I was watching a program and they talked about a Skinwalker story, but it involved two native boys and a white boy, and they were out of Farmington, and they were talking about driving some of the roads up there. Yeah. And they took a random road, and they came across a Skinwalker. Now they said this Skinwalker was like crouched down in the middle of the road, like it was eating on something. I don't know, but anyway, their story was that it pursued them, and no matter how fast they drove, it kept up with them. Well, to make the long story short, they eventually came out of the road, and when they got onto the secondary road, there was a Navajo Nation police that pulled them over. And when they told him, that there's a skinwalker chasing us, and he didn't think twice. He just said, "Well, follow me." And he, they were hauling ass out of the area. And the white kid said once he saw the lights of Farmington, he was so relieved. And then they immediately drove to one of the native kid's house, and he ran inside and grabbed an amulet, or it was something his grandmother gave him, and he said, "You need to take this or it's going to find you." And I was like, wow, that was crazy too. So, you're right. There's a lot of similarities to these stories, but I truly myself, I believe they're true. I know when I was a young teenager and I would go out to Window Rock area that I would get, driving home alone, I would get scared.
Yeah, it's a different ball game at night.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, that was interesting.
Now we have a Navajo man that married into our family. He married our cousin, and he shares a lot of stories with us, and not old stories. I mean, stuff that's happening today, stuff that he sees, because he's a mechanic, so he goes out on the reservation, out on the interstate, and he sees a lot of stuff, and he's even shared some pictures with us. Now he wouldn't give us the pictures, but he showed us them, and it's mind blowing. It's crazy.
It was. I was like, "Are you serious?" It did freak me out. I thought, wow, if I would have saw that on the side of the road, I definitely wouldn't have stopped.
No.
Yeah, that's crazy because whenever we try to take a picture, our viewing, specifically my mom, has always been in person.
Right.
But whenever, I took a friend up there and she tried to take a picture of their footprint, but the footprint came out blurry. No matter how many times we took it, there was something preventing the clarity of the footprint.
Oh wow.
Because there's a distinction between because sometimes they take the canine footprint, but you can really tell the difference between regular dog and their the dog print that's theirs.
Mm-hmm.
It's over exaggerated. It doesn't look natural. But that's crazy that he was able to take a picture of it. Because usually whenever we try to something always happens. It's something either something clear to the clarity.
It wasn't a clear picture, I'll tell you that. It wasn't. Okay. It wasn't clear. It had some blur to it, but you could make it out.
One thing that stuck out in my mind is it kind of looked like a coyote, right, on two legs, but the arms and stuff, it's not like they were fully transformed or something. They were bone.
Oh, okay.
Wow, it was crazy. It was a good picture, but right. Like I said, he wouldn't give it to us, but he let us see it.
And if it was photoshopped, it was a damn good job.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But we want to thank you for coming on. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll probably reach out to you and have you on again in a couple of weeks if you don't mind.
Yeah.
No, I have lots of stories. Yeah.
Okay, we'd love to hear them, especially for us, because they hit home with us, because we're pretty much from the same neck of the woods. We grew up in similar ways. We've heard a lot of the same stories.
That's right. Right. And we're definitely going to publish this one.
Yeah, we finally got somebody close to home.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, and someone's going to hear from you who lives in the reservation and who is native, and they're going to maybe think that we ain't so crazy after all.
Right.
Yeah.
But definitely, hey, thanks for coming on. We're going to let you go now. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing with us.
Yeah, thanks, Cory. We appreciate it.
All right.
Have a good night.
I'll be reaching out to you.
All right. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.
So that was pretty good.
That was a good story.
That was really good. I like his insights. And we finally got a firsthand. We always talk about skinwalkers and stuff that goes on in the reservation, stuff we grew up with. But I'm glad Cory came on and a firsthand story from his mother.
That's right. No, I've read several stories from him. This is the one that I reached out to him because of the Skinwalker story. But it just caught my attention. And Cory, thanks for coming on. I do appreciate it, and you just help solidify some of the things we have said about skinwalkers, because it's coming from a native, from someone that has family members that have experienced it.
Right.
And some of the attributes that we talked about, jealousy, envy, you just verified that is what these creatures do, and that's why they target some people and not others. And it was a good story. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you, Cory. And we definitely need to have him back. I know he has other stories, and I'm going to read some of them now that you sent me the link.
Right.
And we definitely need to have him back.
Yeah, I know that. Good story. And for those of you listening, if you have a story like that, send it to us, or contact us. We'd love to have you on and you tell your story, just as Cory's done, as Randy's done, and as Jimmy's done. So, we're really looking forward to getting more people to come on.
Let's not forget Storm.
That's right, Tammy. Storm, Tammy, who were our first guest.
In our infancy.
Yes, this is when we first started out, and a big shout out to both of you guys. We appreciate it. But this is what our podcast is about.
Right.
Now that we have the technology, we want to hear your story. Of course, we're going to do podcasts where we talk about things solo, but it's always best to get that other point of view from another person.
Right. The first-hand stories are what we like.
That's right. Firsthand. That's great.
We're trying to get another guest. We're trying to get the big man himself, Bigfoot, but you won't believe how hard it is to locate him.
Well, I hear he's doing commercials now for
Jack Slings.
Yep, Jack Slings.
And they have that mattress one.
And Geico. Daryl. Yeah. He's big time. He's Hollywood bound, people.
We joke around a lot, but on a serious note, we do believe we've had our own experiences, and
yes, on the serious note,
and we want to hear yours.
Now, I've never had a skinwalker experience.
No,
that I could say no. That hasn't come to fruition, and I don't know if I want to have one of those.
Maybe from a distance,
right?
Maybe not directly, toward me, but I'd like to see one.
Right. I'll stick to the stories. Thank you very much. But no, it was a good story, and once again, thanks, Cory. So, what'd you think?
I liked it. I want to hear more of his stories.
I do too, and like I said, I've read a couple of stories, and I'm like, yeah. And he said he has many more to tell, so I'm like, we will reach out to you so that you could give our listeners more of these stories.
Right, and if you guys have a question for Cory, email us, and he will be in contact with Cory. So
I'll definitely shoot him the question.
And then next time we have him on, he could answer live.
That's right. So, it was a good show tonight. Good show.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight. And, it's a little short, but...
Short and sweet, like they say.
Well, the best thing is you got the story from Cory, and that was firsthand.
Right.
And, we could just ramble on and make nonsense, but you heard the story.
Right.
And we appreciate you guys listening. And like we always say, let us know how we're doing. And reach out to us, because that's what we really want.
Reach out and touch someone.
That's right. So thanks for listening. Peace out.
Peace.